What is up, grappling fans? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparza, coming to you live. I understand it is late. You probably don't expect to see me right now. Some of you might be in bed. Others of you might be trying to figure out, like, hey, why are we going live at close to 10 p.m. Best Coast time? And the answer is simple, guys. When you have a good guest that you've been wanting to talk to for a while, you make the time. But before we talk with this excellent guest, I want to make a couple little quick mentions. First, if you get some love to our friends over at No Gi BJJ Gear, that is nogibjjgear.com. Go over to them, use the promotional code GrapplingHour15. You take 15% off of whatever you put in your cart. Look at this, though. Look at this. The shirt says Manscaped. Why would I wear a shirt called Manscaped? Well, I mean, there could be reasons. But the best one would be if you use the verbal tap as the promotional code for that. You get 20% off their materials. And I got to tell you, Kevin is already a huge fan of that. He's been using it nonstop. He won't stop talking about it. And I really wish that he would. And I also want to say a big shout out to our friends over at Dodgy Collective. We appreciate them for all that they do. Go visit them. They've got some great clearance items and great artwork. Our guest today. What do I say about him? Well, first of all, this interview came together very quickly. I've been watching him for years. I'm very a big fan of what he does. I was a little surprised he kind of knows who we are. I think that's kind of a cool thing. But for me, the thing that always makes it nice is I'm familiar with his work because it's savage. I love watching his matches. I think that he's an entertaining human being. And to those people, we always try to bring him on to get to know him a little bit better. And in this particular case, I was like, he's got a match coming up on Third Coast Grappling, and we love those guys. But I figured I would ask him about it and kind of get his thoughts because we're starting to close out the year and he's already had a pretty eventful year. So rather than waste any more time, I thought we'd get straight to talking to a man who is the first Hispanic athlete to win an IBJJF title in the adult division, making the rest of us Hispanics look, I don't have one. It would be nice if I did, but he is the man who holds that title. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first time on this show, one Johnny Tama. Johnny, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. When you text me, I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. So I was kind of excited. I really enjoy talking to people, and especially people that are doing good work, spreading the art and the awareness of jiu-jitsu and MMA and all of this. So I feel really stoked to be here talking to
Well,
you.
dude, it is great to talk to you. I have to ask you this. What does it feel like? Do you ever look at your BJJ Heroes website? Do you look at that profile ever?
I used to do that a lot, to be honest. But recently I stopped because uh, I was talking to my mindset coach, and he and I were conversating about this, and we are like, man, this year I wasn't as successful as I was last year, and I feel really bad about it because I do care about my record. Because as a competitor, we care about our wins and our losses, and you know this, like the ones that you lose are the ones that hurt you the most, and you don't forget about those. So this year I competed and I had good performances, but unfortunately the results weren't following me. And sometimes after winning a world title, this can be really devastating for an athlete, and this year for me was a trial, and to see if I really love this sport and how much I was willing to continue to do to keep up with this level. Because I'm not gonna demeanor any of my past competitors from the year before, but most of them, they weren't like decorated athletes. They were guys trying like I was trying at the moment, and then this year I just fought straight up savages back to back, multiple time world champions. They've been longer on the black belt, or really talented guys that were able to make the best of me. And the rule set, you don't see me losing on too much. Like, it's not like I lose a smash. We see some guys getting submitted, some other guys getting their back taken and the guard passes, like everything. You see me like losing on a ref decision, fighting back and forth with the guy. So you'll be like a little something, that I feel like I've been working on these past 2 months after my last tournament which was Pan Am's. I lost the second round against a very talented athlete and also decorated athlete. So it was really hard. So my coach asked me like, listen, I want you to focus less on the losses. So I don't want you to check your BA Heroes page right now. I want you to focus on the good things. I don't want you to look at a record because losers focus on records, champions focus on performance. So ever since he told me that, I've been shifting my mind a lot, shifting my mindset, and trying to put it in the back in the right place, which is not focusing too much on whatever it is like on the records, focusing more on like training and evolving. And I feel like when I'm too much thinking about that, because you treasure it, you're right. So you're more likely to lose it because you put it in a pedestal, like, oh, this is so valuable, I can't lose it. But then that's when you lose it the most. So you can lose. So you get lost. So I try not to think about that. But yeah, I love my BB Hero page. I was actually the second guy from Ecuador to get it. The first one was my roommate and also trainer partner Francisco Sinistro Iturralde, my professor's brother, younger brother. The guy that actually inspired me and convinced me to move to the U.S. and pursue this dream.
Does he ever remind you that he was the first and you're the second? Like, does he come up to you and say, like, number 2, I need you to take out the trash because, the number 1 seed never does that?
No, we actually know we our relationship doesn't base on it doesn't base on these things. We don't at home. We're just regular people. We try to keep it as. Actually, when I talk about Jitsu at home, he's like, "Yeah, come on, man. Like, I'm done, man. Like, I'm home, bro. Like, come on, cut it. Like, can we talk about something else?" And I'm like, "All right, okay, I get it." So it's pretty funny, but he kind of stopped looking too, and that's when I saw a big shift on his mentality too. Because, like, again, if you're constantly thinking of records and all these things, there's a lot of pressure you're putting on yourself that you don't need to. Like, in reality, it's like champions focus on winning, not on a record, or on performing. So I try to stay positive on that way, but yeah, I mean, he never brags about anything, but I always keep in the back of my head that he helped me being here somehow, and well, we're roommates. We've been training together for more than 7 years here in the States. So pretty chill. We don't really think about these things too much,
I mean, I'm just going to let you know what a terrible person I am. I would remind you daily if that was me. But I do want to say this, Johnny, because the reason why I brought up the BJJ Heroes page is I do a little bit of research before we ever do these kind of interviews. And when I went on there, I have what I would think is kind of a game that I've seen you play that I go, oh, he might like this. When I saw BJJ Heroes right on their page, favorite or best position, they just kind of said, yeah, I mean, good all around. And I said, holy shit, normally everybody gets like half guard or has a really good lasso. You got like, hey, listen, dude, just everywhere. And I thought, what a compliment that is to get that as an
dude,
actual
actually, when that's like, after 3 years, he texts me like, hey, I'm gonna put that the stima look is your move, and I'm like, dog, don't change that. That's perfect because I barely do stima looks nowadays because people are expecting me to do them, so I just don't do them. And yeah, man, I always try to be complete. I don't wanna be seen as a guard player or just as a pasador. I try everything. If the situation presents itself, I'll pass it. I'll prefer to pull guard because if you can come out and get those 2 first, you're gonna be winning. And then if the guy sweeps you, you sweep him back. There's a loop there. But I like the guard. But if I have to pass, I'll pass. If I have to go for a full look, I'll go for a full look. If I have to take the back, that will be my main goal. But I try to label myself as a jiu-jitsu guy, not like as a pasador or as a guard player. My preference, I like to play guard. And good overall game, man. I always try to be complete. I always try to pass on the left side. I try to pass on the right side. I try to play top, bottom, and do both things on different sides. But you always find yourself like, oh, this side's kind of weird. This side's kind of stiff. This is my good side. So I develop techniques for each side. Like what works for my body type. and all of that. So it was an honor, and I really enjoy the fact that he called me to do the page was big for me. Well, I also earned it. I think I passed Miyao's guard, and then the next day he hit me up. Hey, you gotta be in the web. He already put me before as the first time he put me on an article was when I was a brown belt. He put me like the list, the brown belt lightweight is the toughest division this year at Worlds, and then man, the division was Renato Canuto, Dante Leon, Espe Maricen, Pedro Paquito Ramallo, Jeremy Jackson. Man, I'm sorry if I'm forgetting some dude's name, but man, that was like, and I was in that list. I was like, damn, that's sick. I'm, one of the toughest black brown belts out there. And then eventually, when this happened, he put me in the profile, and man, it was big for me. That was when I was like in the airport. I was literally in the airport when he takes me. I went, yeah, and then everybody around me was like, the fuck this dude, and I was like, I just like walked to the bathroom and then just like hide because I felt so awkward for being in the waiting room, in the waiting area in the airport for a little bit. But yeah, man, it's I mean, there's these perks, like you start to achieve little goals that you have, and then you don't acknowledge them anymore because they're in the past and you're thinking about what's next. And that's another thing that I always do. I'm always thinking what's next, and that is stressful, and that's sometimes toxic. And this is something that my coach was telling me. You as a champion, if you don't want to lose your confidence the confidence in yourself or in your life or anything you're doing, you have to remind yourself what you've done before to keep you going. But not in a arrogant or egocentric way. More like, oh, I done this, so I can do more. Before I used to be like, hey, like I'll forget about it. I won't even talk about it. I won't even mention. Even when I won words, I wouldn't talk about it much.
Yeah, I run a very balanced sort of approach to this because I worked with students. I used to compete in speech and debate. I used to compete in sports before that, but the speech and debate was a very mentally grind kind of thing. And I remembered seeing a variety of students that would go through different emotions very similar to how athletes go through it. So when I see athletes start beating themselves up or not giving themselves enough credit, I go, you got to be fair to yourself. You got to be able to say, hey, this is actually pretty impressive, but maybe a week later saying, all right, what is the next challenge? So I think it is important to take the good and the bad. But for a BJJ Heroes page, especially when you're starting off, that's a sign of an accomplishment that people respect you in your craft. So I would say there's a true reason to be happy and yell at an airport. Now, I will ask you this, because I think I know the reason why you're moving. If people are just watching this right now, what is it that you're doing?
1 second. I'm going to show you guys.
Okay. So if you're just listening to this... If you're just listening to this on the audio version, he is showing you a frozen pizza that he has cooked for himself. So we are truly seeing the dinner of champions happening over here.
Well, in my defense, it's gluten-free, bro. So.
Okay, well, listen, dude, we're no judgment zone. We're all in that middle ground between Christmas and Thanksgiving. So all of us are doing different eating habits, and I will never judge somebody for having a pizza. In fact, if anything, it endears you more to me. Look at this. This is...
No, but serious talk, man. Gluten, it's a killer. Like, gluten is bad. Like, it blows you, it stops your digestion from being normal. So I kind of stopped eating gluten as often, and I try to avoid it. That's why I don't like to eat pizza in places that don't serve gluten-free because, man, the ability for your body to digest the carbs that are not complex, like the ones that are made with gluten or dough, it helps for an athlete, to recover faster and be able to digest and like use the carbs in a good way in the in the competition instead of being bloated and feel gassy. And that's why sometimes people are like, "Oh, you can't eat pizza. That's that's bad."
It gets disqualified by your gesture there. It looked like you were just being like, no, sorry, I'm gonna that pizza reaped right now.
Some
So
pizza rib,
that's
yeah. But this pizza in particular, I like it a lot because it's cauliflower. It's cauliflower, so it's easy on your body.
you get
Cauliflower
that
rice,
good
cauliflower
frozen pizza. Where do you get that frozen pizza? Because I know where I get mine, and that mine is not just all cauliflower.
pavilions, bones.
It's
You know,
good for you,
there.
man.
But you gotta just look for the cauliflower one. That's a winner in my
Props to
eyes. So
you.
that's the one I look for.
Well, I can think of no better way than to transition as you eat this pizza to ask you a little bit about origin story. So, obviously, you started as you were young. You've been in this game for a good amount of time.
11 years.
11 years, but I know that there was an event that got you into it. Do you mind kind of sharing for people who
Of
may not
course,
know what it is that got you into jiu-jitsu?
dude. Silly kid, 16 years old, falls in love with his best friend. She's a beautiful lady. You're obsessed with her, and typical. One guy is hitting her up, the other guy is hitting her up. So you guys are kind of like battling for her. So then, anyways, there was like a little exchange of words like between me and him. And at the time, I have some fights at school, and I thought I knew how to fight. I felt like I was confident, very like cocky, and that I'll beat this guy. But truth to be told, man, I was always at home chilling, just playing soccer. So I didn't have any background for any fight, any style, anything, nothing. My stepdad used to watch UFC every weekend. He would get the DVDs because 11 years ago, 12 years ago, we didn't have any of these like live streams and things that you can watch online stuff. You have to get the DVDs from the event. And anyways, in Ecuador, of course, because they didn't stream it all the way from US to there back then. So, you know, uh, anyways, I started arguing with these guys. So we're like, okay, let's meet this place. Let's go smash. So I was like, boom, I get there, man, and we started exchanging, and I ended up on the floor, like on the ground, and we started rolling on the ground, but not really knowing what we were doing. But I remember the guy held my head, like the self defense move, that he held my, I don't know how you call that in this
I think we
particular
would probably
technique.
call it like a headlock or something, is what you're kind
Headlock, like a
of.
front, like, yeah,
Yeah,
modify, like a wrong headlock.
right.
uh, so the guy got me on that, and I was like kind of getting choked, but I was like, this doesn't choke me. I don't want to stop. But anyways, my cousin stopped the fight. She kind of just, yeah, that's it, yeah, flip out, separate us. Went home. I didn't feel good. I think I had a concussion because I hit the ground with my head. But man, that was like reality check. Like, listen, dude, you don't know how to fight. You can't be getting on fights. You don't know how to fight. You don't know how to throw hands. You don't know how to do a takedown. You don't know how to do jujitsu. I didn't even know what jujitsu was on that time though. So I just didn't. You just don't know how to fight on the ground. So that kind of woke me up, and I was like, I had to figure it out. So I asked myself that, hey, teach me how to box. And so we started boxing. He was a black belt in Kempo Karate, so he got some kicks. He was showing me kicks and making me work out. And then one day he calls me and said, hey, I got tickets for MMA event. You want to come watch? And I was like, okay, cool. I want to get involved. And you learn by seeing, It's not like you're going to learn the technique, but you're going to learn like it's possible to do the punches, it's possible to do the kicks, maintain the distance. So I went, and the main event was Professor Fernando Soluso, which is my professor's professor and he got the black belt under Fabio Burgel. So he was like the first legit black belt that went to Ecuador. There was a couple black belts that were in and out, but the first one with like the whole idea of IBJJF and the circuit and the high standards on the belts and all of these requirements, he was the first one to bring them home. And I saw the guy getting his ass whooped the whole match, man. Like punches and punches, punches. And at some point, I don't remember. I don't know. He fell down, put a triangle on the dude, lock him down, put him to sleep, won the fight. And I remember everybody's like singing the chanting ah, Ali, say, and I saw like it was like a gang, like the Lions gang back home. So I was like, damn, that shit's badass. I wanna be a part of that. How? Anyways, my stepdad told me, listen, dude, you get good grades. I'll pay for your tuition for jiu-jitsu. I'll buy you a gi and see if you like it. Because I told him I want to learn how to strangle someone like that. So, anyways, I even remember the day. It was a Tuesday, June 3rd, 2009. So it will be 11 years and a half that I have training by now. Man, I learned Kimura, Americana, and I think a secret from the mount. I went home, I couldn't sleep. I was like, wow. And man, when they say you meet the love of your life, I think that day I met the love of my life. It was crazy, man. I couldn't sleep. I was just thinking about jiu-jitsu. The next day I went home. I went to school because I was going to high school at that time. Guys, look, Americana, Kimura, Ezekiel. Well, you need the key, so I was using the hoodie and I would do it like this. And yeah, man, I became obsessed. I was in junior year, so junior, senior, I trained hard. By the time I got my blue belt, I went on the street, like on a roll of fighting in the streets and kind of like getting out the angerness that I had the time, because I had some, issues when I was younger. And once you feel like you have power to hurt people and you don't use it the right way, you know, do these things. But anyways, I came to learn that I was wrong and improve a lot. Jiu-Jitsu also taught me the lesson that you're not supposed to fight in the streets and all of that. But well, ironically, Jiu-Jitsu's name was made on the streets on the beach in Brazil, on porrada, giving some punches here and there. But yeah, man, that's how it started. It was just I became obsessed. It was silly. I kind of think I kind of thank life for this girl that I met that never gave me attention. And I decided to fight for her, trying to prove a point, and it was just funny.
I mean, it's funny how those things work out because sometimes you don't know that getting your ass kicked is going to give you a whole brand new life, And at the time, it feels like the worst thing it
Humbleness.
could feel. Yeah, humble, but you could feel like it doesn't feel a good feeling to have that happen to you. So then you search it, you realize, okay, I've got to learn it, and then you become so obsessed with it that it becomes something that you're truly loving. Do you remember the moment you fell in love with jiu-jitsu? Because I know you mentioned obsession, but I think the infatuation stage can kind of wear off. The point where you say like, yeah, this is for sure what I'm going to do. Do you remember if it was a specific class or outside of the gym sometime?
The night that I learned jiu-jitsu, I went to sleep around 11 p.m. and I was facing down my bed. And I closed my eyes because I was trying to sleep to go to school at 7 a.m. the next morning. And I couldn't, man. I became obsessed. I was like, damn, I love this. This is amazing. I was really obsessed with video games. So jiu-jitsu feels like a video game sometimes. It feels like you have the combos, so you have to match the combos and make your own attacks and all of that. So jiu-jitsu feels like that to me, and it feels like I'm playing a video game. So I stopped playing video games after I started training jiu-jitsu, man. It was like it filled my whole life with happiness. And my grandma was dying at that time, and my grandma was the person that raised me. My mom was, of course, a strong figure in my life, but she was working too, man. Because nowadays it's so hard to keep a good living. So
Yeah.
my grandma raised me, and the day she died, I was trying to go to jiu-jitsu, and my family wouldn't let me.
Mm.
But I was usually trying to just give me like a 2 hour break from everything, because you know how jiu-jitsu can it can take you out of this dimension for a second. So I tried to do that, but they didn't let me. But I was saying by that time, when my grandma died, that's when I drowned myself in jiu-jitsu. I was like, the pain was so unbearable for me that I just jiu-jitsu will numb. And
I
jiu-jitsu
understand that.
gave me everything that I was lacking in my life. Confidence. I started to get in shape. I started to get girls' attentions. I started to feel more confident to talk to them too. Uh, it helped me bear the pain of my grandma dying, and of course, a lot of the things that I was telling you, I have like problems when I was a kid and all of that. It helped me move on. So I always believe that jiu-jitsu can help you not only in the athleticism plot part, but also mentally. Like because of if you apply the philosophy.
Absolutely. I'm glad you were able to find it. I tell people occasionally, just from my own experience and what I've seen for other people, sometimes jiu-jitsu finds you at the right moment. I've always told people, man, I wish I had done wrestling when I was a kid. I wish I had done this. I'd be so much further. I wish I started earlier. And I said, you know what? I think it found its way right when I needed it the most. I was at a point where I needed to lose weight a little bit and I wanted to do something athletic. And that was my journey for it. And I've realized that so many other people have something where it significantly makes a change at the right juncture of their life. So I think that's good for you, man. I am going to ask you this because I did hear a trigger word and I need to go back here. Because you said you gave up video games, and yet I'm looking at the headset that you are currently wearing. And I think that's a dead giveaway that lets me know it made a return. So what video games are we talking here? So let's go to the original part. What was the original obsession with video games? What was really
I was
consuming your time
playing a
then?
lot of like soccer, FIFA. Our friends and I we just like to play soccer, so it's like sometimes we couldn't do it, so we just play video games, or you know, you meet with them after school and then just play, eat some pizza or whatever, hanging out, talking shit, playing video games, yeah, yeah, and then well, I got that out of my life, but then when I moved to San Diego 3 years ago, my friend was like, "Man, I don't have money, but I really want the Shoyo gi that you have, brand new. What do you want?" And I was like, "Play." So the last time I played video games, the PlayStation. So I skipped the whole PlayStation 3,
Oh no.
the, like last 2 years of the PlayStation 2 and the whole PlayStation 3. Like I didn't play zero. And PlayStation 4, I really got it 3 years ago. My friend was like, "I'll give you the PlayStation. You take the key." I'll take the key. I was like, "Okay, cool, fair enough." At the time, my mom wasn't buying me a PlayStation because it was really expensive in Ecuador, man. A console would cost like if it's here 300 or 800, sorry, 300, 500, or there would be 1,000, 1,200. It's a lot, man, for like a third world country. The economy is on dollars, and the minimum wage is 350, 400. Buying $1,000 PlayStation is kind of like, oh, wait. Let me make that money first. So I'll prefer buying tickets to go compete or none of that. But when I saw the opportunity, I was like, okay, I'll take it. I neglected this thing that I really liked it for so long, and whatnot. I play FIFA. I play a lot of like Call of Duty, Apex. They help me. You have to be mindful when you're playing these video games because you can't. That one moment you lose the focus, they kill you. So in jiu-jitsu, you need to be mindful. You need to be able to kind of like unplug yourself from the reality and just focus on what you have in front of you, which is the guy or the guy that's trying to kill you, the guy that wants to take your, he wants to take your prize. So the video game now I found it like a good outlet for me to focus on my mindfulness. Of course, sometimes I go to surf and all of that, skate sometimes, run. But the video games is kind of like something that I neglected, and now I'm having again, and I'm enjoying it. I feel like really happy, like my inner child's happy.
Hey, good for you, man. I'm glad that you found it again. I gave up video games. I used to be obsessed with them when I was going into high school. And then all of a sudden people would be like, yo, you want to play it? And I would try to play it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a shell of, I can't even do this anymore. Like my reaction times are slow. I felt like I aged 90 years. I felt like a grandpa holding a remote control on this. But I do want to ask, when did you make the video game comparison? Because if you were so obsessed with it, it seems pretty likely that you were able to make that connection maybe sooner than most people, and maybe that might have helped your development as you were going through. When do you remember kind of making that association between the two?
Mm, I read this book last year. It really helped me, man. And they were talking about being on the present moment. So our minds are wired to think on the future, man. Like we always think of what's next, what's next, what's next, and rarely we think about the past. And most of the time when we think about the past, because we're depressed. You know, you feel sad, you're missing something that's the way they used to be, or just feel sad. So thinking about the past is kind of sad because you're trying to relive something that's gone forever. You can't repeat, and thinking about the future just brings you anxiety, depression, anxiety. So that's what kind of like the book in long story short said. And they say that the practice of mindfulness, which is full awareness of the present moment, you can only achieve by focusing on your breath. And all of this is interesting to me because I was like, I learned how to breathe through my diaphragm plenty years ago by a yoga instructor that was training jiu-jitsu with me back home, and he showed me all these tricks, but without explaining me this part. So when these two things click on my head, it's like when that jiu-jitsu move that you like, oh, it just comes to your head. You're like, bing. I was like, yeah, the mindfulness, the breathing, and then in the video game, I was like frustrated because I was getting killed a lot, and also like you said, I hold the remote. Man, I feel like pretty much I didn't know how to play video games anymore. I knew how to play FIFA because FIFA I was too much into it that I still can play soccer in that team, but still rusty. But man, I started paying a lot of attention on that, and then my video game skills went up. Like recently, I made a story on my Instagram. I was like, I won, I was the kill leader and all of that, and I was really happy because this is kind of like jiu-jitsu, man. They're getting back to be good at these video games. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of like try and error, and sometimes I'll lose and I'll get killed, I'll get frustrated. It just remind me a little bit of what jiu-jitsu was like for me at the beginning. Like I said, it's good outlet. Good outlet. Good way to do something different. I know it's not for everyone. Everybody has their own thing, but for me, video games was a big thing when I was a kid. So I still kind of like endear those moments, and I enjoy playing video games. I play in the morning, like say I wake up at 7 a.m. I grab a coffee and I play like 30 minutes, an hour, if I don't have anything to do, and then I'll start doing stuff for work in the computer, or I'll go teach, or train, come back, rest, cook my lunch, and then if I'm like, okay, I got some time, or I don't feel like taking a nap, a little bit here, and then I try not to play too much. I try not to stay there 3 hours. It's too much. I control that. I'm not trying to, be all over the video game all day, because that's not productive either.
Good for you, man. I do have to ask you a couple questions to follow up on this. Number one, I've been asking this to a lot because there are a lot of athletes who surprisingly, or unsurprisingly to most people, say that video games become their outlets in the jiu-jitsu community. Have you found that as well? And is there a subculture of competing with the people that you train with in the realm of video games?
We don't really compete much. We actually get together in a party, and we go against other squads.
Okay.
And that's entertaining. I mean, this game I'm playing a lot lately is called Apex. So you buy your partner, and you guys are part of a squad, and you guys go hunt. And you guys have to be the last one standing. So kind of king of the hill type of thing.
Okay.
So I mean, we also do that. We can play against each other, but most of the time we pair up as team and we go against other people. And sometimes it's funny because I also enjoy the trash talking on the online gaming. There's a lot of trash talking. Sometimes dudes are kind of like, I feel like they don't have anything else in their life that they take it so serious. And I'm like, yo, dude, like yesterday morning, it was funny because my roommate he came into the house, and the first thing he hears, he's like, "You mother bitch, motherfucker!" I was like cursing this dude out because, man, he started just out of the blue cursing, and he went on a cursing streak for like 2 minutes on the thing, and I was like, "Yo, man, you have no life. Like, fuck you, man. Like, don't like."
Yeah.
And my roommate just came and closed the door, and I was like, "Oops." But I mean, it's, I don't care. I lose. I don't care. It's one more game.
I have a rule, which is, as somebody who does comedy, I tell people, I'm like, listen, I may not beat you at jiu-jitsu, but you will never win the trash talking against me. Like, I don't care who you are. You can be Galvo, you can be the top tier of an individual. Like, I will talk way better trash about you, but I will not be able to back it up on the mats. I just want you to know I will win there, and I will take my beating as a true person needs to do. Here's what I want to say, though. If I ever in the future put together a video game tournament, would you be interested in playing against other jiu-jitsu athletes? Okay, he's in. Because the thing is, I like the fact that you said you play the together games, like your squads, you get together. But I've also seen you compete, and I know you can be very competitive. And when I see that happen with people, I've seen, when I've watched it with my own two eyes, people who are very like, oh, this is my brother, man, but I will murder him on this FIFA right now. And I think to myself, okay.
That's why I don't. I used to close out divisions with my friends until recently last year, and it kind of clicked me. I was like, man, is he my friend? I want to roll, and if I was playing a video game with him, I'm probably want to kill him. So if he's my friend for real, we're gonna go after it. So I'm not closing out anymore. So I have this with Francisco, my roommates in Istro. I'll close out divisions because, man, we've been training together for so long, but it's brotherhood. But I have another friend that he was like, oh man, I don't want to fight. I'm not gonna give his name because I don't want to burn him. But I'm gonna give you a hint. He closed out Panam's Nogi with a friend of his from another team.
Okay.
I don't know how many times these dudes trained together, but that's kind of how he won Panam's Nogi. So there's no glory behind that, at the end of the day, because you share the goal.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, fuck it, I'd rather fight now. I don't care if I lose, but I lost fucking earning my medal. It's not like I got to the finals and I was like, I used to think that way because that was the old self. That was my old self, and I was also trying to take care of my record and all of that, but now I don't focus on that. Like, at semifinals of Worlds, I faced an old teammate, Fabio Caloi, for Alliance Sao Paulo, and hey, we both shake hands and we're like, man, it's not personal, we won the same, boom, fist bump, let's go after it. And yeah, man, I see that it took me a while to kind of accept that, but fuck closeouts. Why?
I mean, I gotta tell you, man, from a producer mindset, from my perspective, it's hard to continue building for jiu-jitsu when I'm like, hey guys, check out like some of our best athletes in the world, and you bring them to Pans or you bring them to Worlds, and they're like, is this the finals? And I'm like, yeah. Also, they're closing out. Not very exciting. I'm sorry I brought you here. There's a certain cell that we want to make it bigger, and I totally understand when teammates have a hard thing of trying to go up against each other, but I always think to myself, it limits our scope continuously by doing that, because we can't sell a closeout. Could you imagine if at a Super Bowl they're like, you know what, guys? We tie. We're friends. People wouldn't stand for that.
So at Worlds, imagine if I close out the division. In the finals, the dude cut my eyebrow. He kneed me on the face. With 10 seconds left, or 15 seconds left, I tried to pass his guard. He gave me his back. I rolled for a truck, trying to take his back, and he defended, and I landed on the mount. Clean, like, bah, with 7 seconds left. And that is what made me a fucking legend. Not closing out the finals, Whether I lose or win, I'll prefer it to be that way than closing out. Closing out is the easy way out.
Well, I'm glad you have that perspective. It makes it a little bit more entertaining and user-friendly, and I promise you I'll make slightly less memes about you if you don't close out as much. So that's just usually a promise I make to some of the athletes. I do want to ask this, because we are still on this video game kick, and I think it's important to continue this, because maybe you've played, like, say, a Mortal Kombat when you put together a 15 combo hit. I'm going to ask you, in your jiu-jitsu career, what is your 15 combo hit that you are most proud of? Like, what is the one where you hit this chain in competition that is akin to that high combo hit that you're like, damn, dude, I love that?
My favorite so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have moved to San Diego, and I just got my black belt that year. And I fought the World Championships, and I lost with 2 seconds left, dude, on a weird ref call. Uh, Ironically, that ref that gave the 2 points to the dude in a weird call because I pulled guard and the guy just tapped my shoulders. That was the same ref that ref my finals match at Worlds. Quite, quite irony. But anyways, fast forward into that. Why I say that is because 1 month or 2 months later after that, the guy that I was supposed to face on the second round or third round that took third place, we fought in February and he beat me to 0. And then he took third award. So I was like, man, when I roll with him, I put him on triangle. I try to sweep him. I almost took his back twice. He was just running out of bounds and being deflecting my move to just not get scored and win by those 2 points because that rule said was Jiu-Jitsu World League, and they don't take advantages or they're not penalized that much because they're not like as strict as IBGF. So he beat me, man. So I was pissed, and I saw the guy placing places. I was like, what the fuck? So I start implementing this new stima lock from the guard, doing burning boldos and stima lock, or playing deep half guard to X guard or to stima lock. And the guy accepts a super fight with me in the 5 grappling events, in the very last 5 grappling they made, and they asked me to fight him. So I'm like, yeah. And I literally was sitting in my head rehearsing the move that I'm telling you, the stimulus from the guard, which people call Tama lock. It became very popular. It became a thing. There's a DVD out there for the Jitsu for the Tama lock system, like straight ankle lock, stimulus lock from top bar, knee bar, all that. But I hit the combo the way, like, it was crazy because I hit the combo the way I was visualizing it. Like the foot was just on my belly, and we literally pulled guard, and then his foot was there. I don't know how, but that was my favorite, man. Because I remember I even rolled through the foot lock because I never done that before much. But I burned bolo the stima lock, so it's crazy. It's not. It was 12 seconds, and that's like so far like my number one. That video went viral. It had like over 5 million views and shit. So that was kind of like till the day today. That's one of my favorites, and then. I really like the failed attempt to the back take that I landed on the Mount Awards. That was sick. I also enjoy a lot the first round Gi Awards in 2019. The guy almost passes my guard, and I do a wrestling move. I can't remember. I don't know if it's called Peterson roll. Not so sure. I'm terrible with names, but the guy make me turn, and I just sat and banged his arm. That move is on my DVD in the Spire Guard, Aggressive Spire Guard DVD that I got on BA Fanatics. That move is there. And the guy lands inside control and he breaches. And as he breaches, he tries to roll into me, and I just jump to the back. And I got like a choke on the scramble, and I just choke him like from one side to the other of the mat. So those 3 are like my favorites so far in the black belt. And
That's oh, go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead.
And then in brown belt, I remember I had this crazy match at the quarterfinals of Worlds in 2015. I was losing on advantages, man. It was like 2-2, 4-2 in advantages. And I was like, that fuck, what am I gonna do? The guy got to my close guard, and he was just grinding me, not letting me move. So I just open my legs, throw a rover guard, do omoplata on the guy. The guy wasn't giving me the sweep, near the submission. And I just open the omoplata, jump for the back. The dude tries to run out of bounds. I jump and put my both hooks in. And I see the line like, tie him up. And I look at the ref, and the ref just reset us in the same position and give me the 4 points with like 10 seconds left. And that was like, so those are kind of like my favorite moments that I always remember. I always like to talk about because they meant a medal or they meant a really special situation,
And I want to compliment you, dude, because when I do make an Estima lock note, I usually have referenced you to a couple of my friends. And the way I preface it, just so you understand the degree of difficulty, is I tell my friends, I'm like, hey man, I've seen him do it from this position and this position, and I've seen him kind of like berimbolo into this shit. I can't do it, but I'll tell you what he did. And they're always like, dude, and I'll show them the clip. And like, I just remembered telling people, I'm like, if you want a sound technique and how to pull this off, I would show them your videos. So that's how you
Wait,
can
wait, wait.
tell.
Let me say something. Hey, so if you guys are watching this, and you want to know more about this video, I'm willing to give away one copy of my Blu-ray, sent to your home. Just hit me up here on my Instagram. Hit me up there. I'll send you a free copy, and see if you like it.
Okay. Okay.
How about that?
That's a very
Giving it
nice
away.
thing. Look at that. You're already in the spirit of Christmas right now. Look at you, man. Just give it away. Shit. I didn't. That was not a prompt for me to be like, and hey, I'm gonna tip my nose this way, and that's when we do a giveaway. I was like, oh shit, he's giving away something. That's dope, dude. Well, that's very nice of you. I do want to go ahead and start asking a couple questions just to get an idea of how you started transitioning to coming over to the States, because I asked you when you fall in love with jiu-jitsu, and then you mentioned you're in San Diego, but there's obviously a period where you have to love jiu-jitsu so much that you're going to start coming to United States. At what point do you make that decision to come to San Diego, and why do you do it?
Well, I first this decision wasn't made, of course, over the night. It took 2 years. I was working. I have a regular job, man, like regular job, 9 to 5, and I was trying around it and in between it. I wouldn't have a lunch break because I would sacrifice the lunch break to go do physical condition. And as I was leaving physical condition, I was eating my lunch, going back to the office to, and then 5:30 back to drill, to train, to do a private lesson, and then done by 9 p.m. Done. And the next morning, normally waking up at 5:30 to do a private lesson at 6 with my professor and 7 class. 8:30 showering, getting back to work at 9. So I did that for a whole year, and in between that whole year, I was competing at the highest level. I won Pan Am's, New York Open, Boston Open. I won. I took third place at Worlds. I lost to the world champion that year. That basically beat me on the 50-50 ankle locks. Trying to play with the advantages. Unfortunately, at that time they didn't have the new rules. They changed it. I felt like I would have won that year, but it's in the past. Can they well on that? But anyways, and then I got my brown belt, and with 3 months of brown belt, I came to again to California to compete the Nugget Awards, my first Nugget Awards, and I took second place. And I lost to Mancher Kera, who double gold that year. And man, it was so sad for me to lose. But at the same time, I was like, man, first time as a brown belt, second place at World Nogi Awards, pretty decent in my opinion. Also losing to a guy that was brown belt for 2 3 years, so he was basically sandbagging and whatever. Then I was like, damn, man, I'm good at this. I kind of wanna. I'm spending. I started making numbers and I started to see how much money I was spending from my savings and the sponsorships that I was getting in trips to the States, and every plane was between $700 to $1,200. They came out of my pocket or my sponsor's pocket. That they really helped me a lot. I was blessed to have like a really solid foundation when it comes to teammates, because they were supporting me a lot. They were giving me a hand anytime I needed some money. Anytime I needed, they knew I wasn't using drugs or using it for alcohol. They knew I wasn't doing anything like going and spending money on video games. No, I was spending the money on supplements, on good food and training. So I had all this support, and by the end of 2014, I had this job, and I talked to my boss, and I was like, "Listen, dude, I love working with you. We're still good friends. He's a black belt too, uh, but hey, I think I have to go. I want to move to LA. I'm gonna move there for 6 months for training and see how it goes." And man, when I moved, the first 6 months were rough, away from my family, in another country. I wasn't speaking English at all, man. what you hear today is me studying, reading, watching shows, listening, paying attention to the grammar. Thank God I went to a bilingual school, so they gave me like a good foundation when it comes to
Mm.
grammar. But still not the same, as speaking, And you guys have different slangs. The English that they teach home is like Oxford style, kind of like British English. So it's really proper, no slangs. You guys have a lot of like different wordings. So man, 6 months here, I was like, damn, I like this place. California feels like I want to be here forever, man. So well, that happened. Went back home, came back 3 more months. The following year, I did the same, but they were starting to like. People were like, "Man, you're still traveling so much. Like, why don't you just move?" And I was like, "Hmm." So I started paying rent when I moved to LA the second time, because I was going back and forth, right? The first time my aunt received me, and then I was like, rent free. So it was pretty good. I was able to make it through with my savings. I save up like 10K and move. But then I have to pay rent, man, and that was like for a 22, 23 years old dude that never paid rent in his life. That's kind of like a big shock. But anyways, I figured out, managed, I pushed through, and then 2016, the end of it, I hurt my knee, but I got a message from my friend Michael Cusi, who runs an affiliation school. It has 4 gyms in San Diego, called the Stronghold Jiu Jitsu. It has 4 locations, one in East Lake Chula Vista, one in North Park, one in Point Loma, and one in Poway that just opened yesterday. So he told me, "Hey man, you wanna start instructing over here?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And he was the first guy to bring me for a class, and he was the first guy to bring me for a group class,
Mm.
and that feels so good, man. I was like, "Damn, I'm finally getting paid." At Cobrinas, I was just paying for I was paying to be there, and then in
Mm.
this case, the guys were paying me to be there to teach them and help them improve. So they offered me this job, and I was like, let me heal the knee and I'll be there. So I got my black belt, healed my knee, start competing, won my first tournament as a black belt. And hey, I fought Thiago Macedo in the semifinals, and I beat Thiago in the semifinals, 6-2 or 4-2. I can't remember very well. It was a tough match. He was lightweight at the time. He went down to feather now because he's skinny. Uh, and then we fought in the absolute the same day. But he beat me. I got DQ because we both double guard pull 3 times. So I got 3 penalties. And then I didn't know this at that time, but you can't talk to the ref. You get a penalty when you try to say something. So I look up to and the dude was really nice to me. My friend Vinicius Agudo was referee. So I'm like, yo, Agudo, falta.
Mm.
And book, I got DQ. So it was like, shit, man. And well, he beat me that day, right? So I beat him. I beat him, and yeah, that's my first tournament as a black belt. I won, so I was like, damn, that's awesome. Like, I'm happy I made this move. So then I started training here in San Diego. And man, I never came back. I never went back home. I just people ask me when are you coming back, and I'm like, yo, I don't know, man. I'm busy over here. I really want to, but I feel like when I'm there, I'm only partying or eating and not focusing on my goals. Here is I feel like I'm working all the time. I feel like I'm busy. I'm doing productive stuff over there. I feel like I'm too comfortable, So here's a struggle. You have to always work towards paying your bills and your responsibilities, your hobbies, your subscriptions to anything, taxes, and here and there. Over there, it's kind of more relaxed on that matter because you live with your parents and they support you. And I didn't want to be in my mom's house until like not more than 22, 23, and I did get out at that time. So now I'm really happy. 4 years later, I'm 28, and I basically achieved half of my goals. I still have a lot of things to mark, but the transition was slow, steady, and I would say successful.
Mm.
because
It's good,
I was
man.
able to break the language barrier. I was able to get a good job related to my passion. I was able to adapt to the circumstances here, and of course, well, winning awards as a black belt and getting seminars around, putting my name out there. So, I'm blessed, man. Like sometimes I want more, but at the same time, I try to focus now in what I have and what I don't, because in that way it keeps me not humble, but it keeps me grateful for what I have. We always think future, more, next, but sometimes being here is better.
It's so hard. Like we mentioned earlier, just the balance of it. You do want to be respectful to what you have earned, but again, man, I mean, I do want to pay a nice compliment, which is you do speak well, man, for having to learn a different language. I wish my Spanish was as good as your English. Let's put it that way, because I think you mentioned you had time where you acclimated it, but you also had to work very hard, and then you had to realize, oh shit, they taught me how to speak like I'm a debutante or like some very important aristocrat, and you're like, that's not how these people talk. That's not how any of these guys are
No,
going to be chatting with each
no,
other.
and some people will be like, they'll laugh at me and they'll be like, "Oh, look at this fuck." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, I don't know how to speak English. What do you want me to say? I don't know."
I mean, the funny
Man,
part is, you still, even when you answered that question, you did it in a way where most guests wouldn't return back to a thesis statement, which is like, Raf, to conclude my answer, I want to go ahead and hone it back in. We first demonstrated that yes, I overcame and adapted. Two, we also demonstrated that I had some good success. And three, we're looking toward the future. And I was like, I'm a speech coach, man. I used to teach kids how to do that all the time. So the fact that it actually stuck with you, I was like, well, I'll tell you what, Gary Tonan's not doing a return back to thesis. Gary Tonan's getting in here and telling me some dick jokes and getting out. And I was like, look at these variety of guests that we have.
no, but man, hey, everybody's personality is different. Uh, I'm a clown in Spanish. I know a lot of savage joke
Hmm.
in Spanish. I do know a lot of savage jokes in English, but I honestly try to keep myself on a good profile. I don't. I have some mistakes like everybody, but I lately I've been trying to be a better example to everyone, man, because I didn't know how many people were paying attention to my steps and that what I do will matter to them, man. I made
Yeah.
mistakes like I lost people, I lost friends, and I lost a certain type of connection with certain people because I was too reckless, too wild, too straightforward. If you know me, man, I'm really honest. I'm the type of guy you're gonna call and it's like, hey, Johnny, I need a reality check. Can you tell me what I'm doing wrong? So I'll be like, let's
Hey,
go.
man, I mean, let's put it to you this way. I recently made a meme about a team member, and I had somebody get at me about it. And I've never taken a meme down, but I took my first meme down, and it was
Wow.
because it was a fellow teammate, and they were looking at me, and they were like, "I can't believe you would say that," and it's from another fellow competitor, and I go, "You do know that I messaged him, right?" And they're like, "What?" I was like, "Dude, I messaged, like, he's in on the joke. He asked to be memed. I wouldn't just do it." I go, I think you have to understand, man. I have a certain rule, and it's been since day one, being a comedy podcast. I won't do a joke unless I can do it to your face. I just believe it's a standard you have to have in order to both be honest for what I know and be funny, but also I'm not going to sit there and tell people that I do respect as athletes, be like, well, it's half guard shit. I mean, just look at it, dude. Anybody can have that half guard. It's like, no, what you guys do is hard. So if we're making fun of the situation, it's not making fun of the person.
I mean,
But
when you know your boundaries with this person, you know how far you can push, right? So people sometimes don't know that, and they will see you as a dick, and it's a complete misunderstanding.
yeah,
And that used to happen to me a lot.
yeah. And it happens because I always tell people, I'm like, listen, dude, I don't assume I know all context. Sometimes people have more information than I do. But for the most part, like, since day one, we've always done jokes to people's faces. And they usually are pretty good humored about it. I mean, there's a whole highlight reel of me making fun of people to their faces with jokes
Damn.
that I tell people, like, listen, there's a reason they do another interview with me is because they like it. So I think we kind of understand that approach. I do want to start circling over. You are competing at Third Coast Grappling. I messaged you immediately when I saw this. Do you mind telling us about that matchup, sir?
Well, I know Michael Musumesi was gonna fight Thiago, but I don't know what happened with Mikey. Honestly, I think some COVID travel restrictions. I don't really know. I know his parents are older too, so he's trying to be careful. I don't really live with any relative or any older person, that could be at risk. My roommates are 30 and 29, 28, 29, and 30, so we're just young, and not even in my complex there's older people much, so I try to continue living my life as much as I can. And when Ryan hit me up, I was like, hell yeah, I want to fight, and thank you for the opportunity. uh, Ryan's been working hard, man, the past two years, year and a half, and he's been putting his events, like, he's been putting great cards. He's been doing everything he's been doing. He's been improving little by little. Man, you can't do big jumps 0 to 100 because that's just not reality. But he's been doing the right switches and progressions that you have to do to make a scene. I think their Instagram is about 25, 30,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
They grew up like over 15,000, 20,000 this year, and it's because of all the sick events he's been putting. He's not like inviting scrubs. He's inviting legits over there, and well, man, like, you see, his events are really nice. The fights are tough. There's some polemic too. Yeah, that's good, man. Like, I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm pro jiu-jitsu, so whoever is trying to help jiu-jitsu, I know it's trying to help me too. It's trying to help develop the art, and especially if I'm getting to be part of the event, it's an honor, man. A lot of people are trying to knock on his door and trying to participate of the event, but he can either invite them because he probably doesn't know them well because they're not affordable, or just maybe because he doesn't like the way they fight. And me, like I said, I've been losing this year more than I'm used to. Yet I've been putting good performances, and that's why I'm still fighting. And that's why people are gonna still call me, because every time you see me fighting, man, I'm trying. I'm not like stalling. I'm not, regressing in jiu-jitsu. I'm trying to progress, trying to go forward, try to push. I don't give up. You don't see me getting top ever, barely. It's a circumstance when I'm open, but it's a privilege. I really feel blessed. I told Ryan, thanks for the opportunity. One of my friends, please, he texted me, please, man, can you talk to Ryan, see if he can get me in the fights? And I try, man, but man, listen, I can't force him to do anything if he doesn't, if he can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when he, like, you see the card, it's Scotty Steele, Victor Silverio, it's John Combs, Pedro Mariño.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot a couple more names, but so
I
far
got
all of
you.
those guys
I saw
are
you get the younger Tackett brother versus
Mhm.
Damon Anderson. That's going to be a really good
that
match.
kid Damien Anderson. It's been a freaking roll. I saw him fight my friend, my girlfriend's brother. Sorry, yeah, my girlfriend's brother, Samson Saucer. He's a really talented MMA fighter, but jiu-jitsu brown belt as well.
Mm-hmm.
He placed there at Pants Nogi this year. Uh, but he fought Damien, and he lost in the overtime against Damien. And sorry, I had a spider in my bed. So weird.
Okay.
Let's see.
I can't tell you how many of these interviews have a pause because there's a spider about to attack you. Oh shit, that's the spider. Well,
It was huge, bro. I was like,
it's fairly big, but I like the idea that you just threw him. He's probably gonna find his way back into this interview.
no, he's dead. I think I killed it.
You think?
I mean, he's been in my room for like a week. I forgave his life multiple times, but today I'm done with you. You were too close to my bed.
I'm just glad that you
But-
did it
but-
live on air, by the way. You were like, you know what? If I'm going to execute him, I want to make sure that people see it.
Anyway, so this guy didn't beat my friend in the overtime, and then I saw him doing really well Pan Am's. The younger tackle Andrew, it's been also beating black belts already in Nogi.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I expect to see fireworks. If you ask me for a favorite, I would like to see Andrew Tackle winning this one. I don't know. I respect the DDS. Not a big fan of them. We all do respect. I just you know I want the other guys to win.
I listen, dude. You know what? I think they know that comes with the territory. That there are going to be some people who just don't root for them, and I'm sure
No, they
there are
don't
people.
care. I'm
Well,
sure they
that's what
don't
I'm
care.
saying. I was like,
They don't
you look
focus
at them.
about.
There are some people they don't like care to root for either. It's just part of the game, man. And you know what? My thing is always, however you conduct yourself says more than how you're saying or not saying things about people. So it's like if you go out there and you compete and you guys are all civil and you go out there and give us a great match, I really don't care what happens afterwards. So that's why to me, whenever people talk about like, oh, did you see that post that somebody put up? I was like, no. And they go, well, you're not looking at it? I was like, dude, I got other shit to do. And also, jiu-jitsu folks suck at comedy. So they're not going to say a joke that I'm going to think is funny because I'm going to read it and go, they misspelled this. The punchline is all marked up. They didn't even get half of the joke right. And they stole that joke from this comedian. And they go, yeah? And I go, yeah, dude, I know the comic. I know the comedy special they took it from.
Yeah, I know what they're trying to say. I know who they're trying to quote.
Yeah.
I try to be authentic with my stuff. I try not to copy on stuff. You always pick here and there stuff, but
here's what I say about
I don't
that.
really like these exchanges online, to be honest.
I would tell you this. I make it a mission to tell people if you're a heel or kind of a bad guy as a personality, then that's it. But don't pretend to be that because we smell that. We know you're not that person. We know you play it up for the audience. So like when I see certain people trying to like pretend to be a heel, I go, "This is really bad."
get mad at people sometimes when they're doing stupid comments.
Yeah.
I do reply ironically or sarcastically, or I tell them to fuck off straight up.
It's
I
probably
don't
the
give a
best
fuck.
approach.
But I don't try to play something I'm not ever. That's
Well,
just not me.
here's something that I think that you can feel good about, which is part of the reason why I like talking to people like you, is that I don't come to you for those things. When I see your resume and you're telling us like, man, I wish my resume was a little better this year. What I say to you is you wouldn't get the interview unless there's a body of work that I say, no, this stands up. Or if I see you on a card like I saw you for Third Coast and I say, I do want to see that match. I would like to see him compete here. I would like to see him do that. Those are the things that ring true to me. So that's way more important to me, a guy who interviews people, than it would be to say, somebody who's going to talk any kind of records or sometimes even the athlete's interpretation. So that is hopefully something that you pick up as you do these sorts of things.
Yeah. I mean, how much can I add to that? You said it all.
I mean, but it's what it is, dude. And you have to. It's sort of the same thing that I hold for myself, which is always, you're always gonna have somebody who doesn't like your interview style or your comedy or whatever, and I go, fuck them, I don't care, because the people who I do interview tend to like me, and I just
So
know what I'm doing.
I learned this 3 years ago while I was training at Lucas and Priest camp. I was paying attention to this online mindset coach, right?
Hmm.
And she's a Brazilian girl. She lives in Huntington. She's really talented. She was working with coaching with Chesha and some other MMA guys, etc. And she said, and this changed my whole perspective to on a lot of things. He says, listen, champions, they don't focus on the 90%. And she's like, what's the 90%? The 90% out of 100 of the people that don't like you, that think that you suck, that they hate on you, that they don't want you to succeed, that they don't want you to see you winning, that they don't want anything that's good for you. That 90% you forget. And you focus only on the 3% of people that love you, that care about you, and you're gonna be able to succeed more in life with this mindset. And when I changed that, man, everything started to be better for me because uh, I don't really have the mental ability to spend time talking shit with people on the internet the people that don't like me, or the people that don't believe in me, or people that think I'm not good enough. I don't have time for that people. I want to invest myself in people that want to support me, they believe in me, that see something that I might not even be able to see. Uh, and then I remember my roommate one day told me like, JT, I believe in you more than what you believe in yourself, man. You don't know how much you can do. So when he told me that, man, he kind of like, it's one of those things that it sends you to your room and it makes you sit against the wall and think like, damn, man, like, I feel like I have to do something about this, because if these people, even though there are not that many, see that,
Mm-hmm.
there might be a reason why they see that and the others don't,
Yeah.
or can't.
Yeah.
So, man, I don't try to think about this stuff. Like, I don't really like. I honestly, I try to mute this social media that are like very toxic like that. I just don't like to follow this stuff anymore.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the nice part is there are plenty of people I mute because I go, nah, I don't need to see any of that. I'm good. I'll find out when you win because somebody else will post a photo of it. So
Yeah, someone will repost you, and I'll be happy for you. But
very happy and very pleased. Let me go ahead and transition over here before we start wrapping up. I know this weekend you're doing a seminar over on the East Coast. Tell me a little bit about that seminar and why you're doing it.
well, my good friend Mitch Aguiar, it's a former Navy SEAL. He's also a pro MMA fighter, and he started this Adopa Cup BJJ. It's like a charity organization. My bad. And well, the idea is to provide police officers free Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu membership uh, by allowing citizens to sponsor officers. So let's say you feel like you want to support this movement, so you're gonna send some cash to the organization so they can provide jiu-jitsu to the cop that starts as a white belt, and then they're gonna pay their tuition all the way through the white belt to blue belt, which sometimes can be, depending on the dude, right? 10 months or year and a half, year and a half. And then it's to create awareness on the police force. How you know choking works, how dangerous can be a knee on the neck, especially this year because we have this incident with Floyd and the police officer that killed him, and it unraveled this whole BLM thing that created riots and all of this because people were mad about cops doing stupid shit. And I get it, man. It's hard to to be a cop, but it might be a cop and not knowing anything about combat sports, anything about grappling. Like how awful that is. Like how unfair for these dudes to hold a weapon and having to rely on a weapon to kill a human before controlling it on the ground with technique. So this weekend they are doing this seminar in New Jersey. They're asking $100 donation fee because of the lineup. We have Renzo Gracie. I'm gonna just throw you a few names. They have Renzo Gracie, which I don't think it needs introduction because we all know who Renzo is. He's a MMA and Jiu-Jitsu legend. We got Ton de Blas, which is a Renzo Gracie guy too. Really famous. He's like over 150,000 followers on Instagram. He's a UFC veteran, ACC veteran, so legit as he gets. Then we have Mitch Aguiar, which is like the creator of this foundation. Also the owner of Massive Supplement, which is one of my sponsors. He's a great guy. He's very helpful with the people around him, and he put together this whole deal to help create awareness on the law enforcement, like I said. Then we have Mark Henry, which is a MMA coach, very famous. We have Alan Tio, which is a Renzo black belt and also ADCC veteran. We have Jamal Patterson, ex-MMA fighter, ADCC veteran. We have Chris.
That I would have superimposed it over, but you know what? Hey, listen, you guys got the vibe of it right there.
Something like that.
Exactly. You know what? Somebody should take a photo of this and make that the new seminar poster. I think that's what we need to do to get people firmly in on that.
Yeah,
well, that sounds like a great opportunity.
This is not good. This is not good. We need the screenshot. But man, Uh, I was honored to be on this lineup because it's a great opportunity to travel and teach jiu-jitsu to people and also help the organization, man. Like this guy, this is the bare minimum I can do for him. So, Mitch Aguiar, right? So this is the bare minimum I can do for him because, like I said, this dude's always helping, always giving away stuff, always giving up people's space to talk their opinion. The dude always runs a live. It's called the Mitch Show. 130 people always watching the live every day. So, pretty good for him. And I wanted to support this event. So I hope you guys, if you're in New Jersey or you know someone in New Jersey, send them a recommendation to come to the Adobe Cup BJJ fundraise seminar.
That's really cool. And I like the approach to understand two very complex issues and to contribute what you feel could be very helpful in terms of knowledge that could hopefully provide some kind of better solution than just trying to continue arguing and yelling. And I think that we've seen so many people obviously very shaken by it, but uncertain as to what to do to help. So I appreciate the effort there, my man.
Well, man, it's props for Mitch. I'm just doing my part. And then,
Well, I
well,
mean,
next weekend I'm gonna be busy basically until before Christmas. I have this December 5th, December 12th. I have another super fight, and December 19th I have a Turcos Grappling. So I'm really looking forward for these fights. It's also good money to compete and pay. Turcos and all these events are paying now the athletes. And man, nowadays I don't want to be going and flying to another place to pay to compete, to pay for my ticket, to pay to take all that money that you put on. Like, when do you see it back?
yeah.
So I'm finally starting to see some money back, and I want to take advantage of all these opportunities. Show up, fight, win, get the bonuses for submissions, get the money for winning, the money for showing up, and if on the way I can make seminars. If you're in Houston before the third coast grappling, you want to take a private, let me know. If you want to do a seminar, let me know. Same thing on the other places I'm gonna go. I try to always make the best of the time that I have. Especially when I'm traveling other towns.
I
I
dig
know,
that.
I know I can bring a lot to the plate, man. To the table, sorry. Uh, Not only jiu-jitsu knowledge, but also experience as a coach too, because I've been teaching jiu-jitsu for over 10 years. So yeah, I enjoy this, man. Like, when I talk about it, my face and my eyes shine, man. Like, I feel alive.
As you should. And I think as we get you in for one final question here, I want to get a little bit of perspective. I saw this on your Instagram and I thought, I might ask you about this because I'm curious what the Johnny Tama on the right hand side would tell the Johnny Tama on the left hand side of this photo.
Don't take things personal. Don't take things personal, and don't be so hard on yourself. Be more humble. I'll say that. And try not to be stubborn. But props for being stubborn sometimes takes you far. Sometimes can be your own worst enemy. But
I
yeah, I would
mean,
say that.
here's the funniest part is I saw this and I go, you know what? I didn't know what you look like as a white belt, but yeah, I could see that. I can see that. That's the kid that you don't know for sure is going to stick with it, but boy, does he stick with it. And just you know what it is? You see the youth and the very much look on your face that's just like, I don't know what this is, but I love it. I'm going to come back every single day. So,
Well, actually, that day I saw my first black belt promotion,
really?
and he was my brother, my roommate's brother, Leonardo Iturralde. He got promoted to black belt after winning Nugget Awards as a brown belt, and he took second at the Gi Awards. So he was pretty much very accomplished as his brown belt. So he earned his black belt, and I saw him crying. And I met the guy when he was a brown belt, and I went to his school to train with him, and seeing him getting the black belt, it was just happiness because I was like, wow, man, that's the feeling you get when you get to the black belt. And that's why that day, the guy that hugging me is one of my good friends. We used to go partying a lot, and you know, being crazy, playing soccer, have fun, drinking here and there. Because that's what you do when you're 17.
When you're a brown person and
And
you're 17, you're essentially playing soccer. I know that to be true.
yeah, I can't deny it. but but yeah, dude, like I was a little bit, well, I thought I knew how to fight, but I didn't. So I was still going. I was going through that process of accepting the fact that I didn't know how to fight, but I was learning it, and I was a little bit. My friends used to call me El Chepo, which kind of mean the cool guy, but the opposite. Like sarcasm, like
Yeah.
because you act too much like a cool guy, but easy, easy. You should chill a little bit. But yeah, man, that's why I say like I'll tell him, hey, you gotta be patient, you gotta be more humble, don't be so hard on yourself, and yeah, and I remember every 11/11 they say make a wish.
Hmm.
Every time I see it, until this day, I said I want to be a black world champion. I want to be a black world champion. Winning words, and so I'll say keep doing that because it worked.
That's an excellent perspective. Well, Johnny, I gotta tell you, man. I obviously kept you longer than I had promised you, but I think it's due in part because I haven't met you in this format. I really wanted to get to know you a little bit better. I wanted to compliment you for your excellent work on the mats. You're always fun to watch, and I always have people on a list that I say, when the time is right and I feel it's appropriate, I'm going to reach out to them. And I hope you know that I've had you on that list for a little bit, and I'm finally glad that we were able to make this conversation happen today, man.
Hey man, the pleasure is mine. Like when you text me, I was like super down to do this. I actually have a question for you. How do
What's
you
up?
hear from me? I'm really interested in like
How did I?
how do you hear from me? Like what was the first thing you heard about me? I'm
So
just
I,
curious.
if I might go back a little bit in terms of one of my good training partners is John Evans,
Oh
and
yeah,
John Evans is a
yeah.
footlock guy,
Oh
and
yeah. You
and
telling me, bro? I ate some.
and John is the nicest guy in the world. But I say to people, I'm like, I'm not very good at jiu-jitsu, but the whole reason I'm not garbage is because of John Evans. So when John Evans would instruct me, he would give me tendencies, and I remember him like talking about your game one day, and I remember watching it. And from the very beginning, I was always doing commentary, even as a white belt, because I would listen to black belts speak, and I go, they're a black belt, but they're not a black belt at speaking. So I
They
feel
don't know how to do
confident.
this.
Yeah, I feel confident in doing what I do, even as a white belt. So from the very early days, I remembered watching you compete from afar, and I think maybe we might have kind of been at the same place or very quickly said hi or whatever. But I just remember John and his very John way of being like, "Oh, well, have you met Johnny Tama? He's got one of the best footlocks that I mean, he's really good with it, and it's just, oh man, he's
That's your
really
best.
right
That's a
there."
good impersonation of John Evans.
And I remembered seeing him talk about it, and then when I would see you compete, you would deliver, and we would say like, "Oh no, he's really good." So, like I said, you've been on my radar for years, not just because of proximity, but because I just always try to catalog everybody in my head. And I always tell people, because sometimes people come up to me and they're like, "How come you haven't interviewed me?" And I was like, "Well, the time's not right." I go, "You lost this competition, and then you want me to go up to you and be like, 'Hey, you want to talk now?'" I go, "You don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to me
No,
when you're on
no.
an you
Yeah.
want to talk to me when you're on an upper. You want to talk to me when you win a tournament, you do something cool, but know that when I'm watching you, I'm building a large file to pull out at any given time if I reference you on the show, if I see you in person, I want to do an interview." And for years, I just would see somebody organically and go, "Let's do an interview." With COVID, it's a little bit more of me hitting up some DMs and being like, "Yo, bro, here's the thing. I want to interview you today, or you're next on my hit list. Can we make it happen within a month?" And so I had reached out to you, especially today when I saw the Third Coast Grappling, and I said I like them. I like promoting them. I like the match. I want to talk about that. And I was like, plus, you know, I think it was time. So yeah, I would say probably in the realm of at least 6 years.
Oh wow, thank you, man. Well, I met John training at Cobrinhas, and I also knew who he was because John was just like a good commentator. You hear him talking or And just what's funny, uh, his ex-girlfriend, she was super nice to us because then she knew Young and how much we love jiu-jitsu. So she was the first person I paid rent to, man. Going back to how small the world is,
Oh, that's
she's the
funny.
first person I paid rent to. She was really kind to me. She saw a kid that was in the United States moved for the first time, and she saw this guy, and she wanted to help me, and she always talked good about John, and she always remember like, oh yeah, the stinky geese, and we will laugh about that because we will leave the geese on the balcony stinky and shit. So it was John. I don't see John very often, but John somehow is linked to my life, and he brought a lot of good things. He always spread the word. He's been traveling around the world doing and teaching jiu-jitsu as well, commentating, and he's been spreading my name around, and I'm blessed to have people like him around my life, and I get to meet you, Raf, and it's a blessing, like these people are all like, it's crazy how everything starts to the dots start to connect, and it just wow.
Well, it's also, I always try to tell people, like, if I'm covering an event, I have a policy that I don't go ruin the mojo. I don't really ruin an athlete's warm up. Like I say, if they know me and they want to talk to me, they can come talk to me. But I don't want to mess with their heads because some athletes are good and they're like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm in the zone. And some athletes are just zoned in. So I was like, there's always an appropriate time and place. And I always feel, I was like, this community is far too small. There's no way I'm not going to run into everybody. And lo and
Eh,
behold,
eh,
there's a far
yeah.
number of people I have.
Yo, I was checking your grappling hour Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and I was saying that you were talking to the Dead Star, Dead Star or Lord. I can't remember his Instagram.
Yeah,
If you
Star
don't have
Lord's
it, like
homie.
Star Lord. Yeah. Yo, if you're seeing this, I find out about you saying that you never want to watch me fight EVI rules again. That seeing me and Jonathan Crazy was really boring. He said that. I can't remember very well. He typed it somewhere, and I
Oh,
and I
God.
read it. Someone screenshot it to me. So I was thinking, damn, bro, like Jonathan Crazy and I were kind of like one of the best grapplers around, and you're talking shit to us about like
Yeah,
EBI.
here's the fun part about Josh. Josh is always reliably the person that's gonna say some dumb shit. That you're gonna look at him and you know what I mean. It's entertaining me because I go, I'm not saying it, but I've
No,
had
I'm
people
talking
who,
shit. I don't care if he thinks like that. I'm just saying like it's funny because I saw the picture and I was like, yeah, this dude. When I see him, I think about that. So I just saw the picture and I was like,
well,
remember, I remember that.
again, we do a segment, we do a fight companion, and on the fight companion, we have a policy where we toast or cheers those fighters who get finishes within regulation. I feel getting finishes within regulation is difficult. So we like to reward those folks. I was always like, you know what? Here's extra incentive. I'll say something nice about you. I'll gently roast you. I'll say something that I think is funny. And Josh is the type that will I think this weekend, for the first time when we did a fight companion, he declined to cheer someone, to toast them, because he was like, I don't really like them. And I was like, well, that's a first. And I remember being like, that's not really my brand, but it's yours. And you know what the funny part is? I go,
Nothing wrong with that.
no, I mean, listen, dude, if you don't want to say something
But the
nice,
jiu-jitsu guys are very sensitive. Let me tell you, they're like
they are.
they get butt hurt like really easy.
Well, you know what the issue is? I always tell people, I'm like, part of the accountability is I don't just make fun of you, I go to train with you. So there's a handful of people who I've gone to train with and they've really beaten the shit out of me. And you know what the fun part is that to me it's just good training. So I've had athletes in the past where they're like, I don't really like you. And I go, okay. And then they train with me and they're like, you're okay, I guess. Yeah. And I go, listen, dude, in person it's really hard to hate me. On the internet I'm sure it's pretty easy. But when you meet me in person, you realize you're kind of a dick. So chill. And that maybe grow a sense of humor because what I'm saying is usually an appreciation for what you do. So
Yeah, sometimes,
that's
for
my shit.
example, for me, I don't try to take it personal. Like I said, I just like to talk shit back, and that's it. I always tell the guys when we're training, like, hey, whatever happens in the mat after. after the training is over, I shake the hands with you guys, and I'm
Yeah.
done. It's over. So same thing when I'm talking shit. We talk shit, we exchange, unless it didn't get too personal.
Yeah, no.
The
Well,
next day I'm fine. I don't care.
I also tell people, I'm like, yo, if they got a good joke back at us, I put that shit on our Instagram stories, and I'm like, yo, that was funny. I'm not gonna lie, that was a good joke, and it just goes to show, and we get memed too, and I I know it goes with the territory, and I know that a lot of guys, like all the meme guys, we're fairly tight. So, and I'll tell them straight up. I was like, yo, that wasn't even funny, dude. I wish it was funny. I wanted to repost it, but it didn't even make me laugh. So try again, dude. Um, Anyway, here's what we're going to do, man. We're going to put a bookmark here. I'm going to close this. I'm going to say hello to you off air, but I just want to say thank you again for coming, sir. It was a pleasure to get to chat with you. I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen.
Thank you, Raf. It's been nothing but an honor. I hope this serves a purpose to anyone that is listening to it. Help you with any tip or whatever, or maybe a story that you like or you want to know about me. And I always tell the guys, if you have a question or anything related to jiu-jitsu or about me or my career, my techniques that you've seen online or my instructions, don't be afraid of hitting me up. And I'm chill. I'm always talking. So let me know.
It's good.
God bless and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I will talk to you off air in just a second, but I'm going to close this bitch up. Thank you very much, Johnny Tama. All right, guys. Before we sign off here, just a couple quick reminders. If you would do us a solid, look at all of these different places. Listen, if you go ahead and add us on all of those, you get all of our love. If you can only add us at one, maybe two of those, just fine as well. Here's what's happening. Later this week, we're going to have another fight companion. That's going to be on Saturday. And then later on within the month, we're also going to have some fight companions for like Submission Underground, the next Combat Jiu-Jitsu. We have so much more content, and we always put the Grappling Hour up weekly. And a lot of big surprises coming up in the weeks to come. I also want to remind you guys, we have a new episode of Verbal Tap that is out with our good friend Richie Boogeyman Martinez. Highly encourage you guys to go check that out. He is a fantastic interview with me and Kev. Truly love it. That's on the latest episode of Verbal Tap. And you know what, guys? That's going to do it for us here at the show. My thanks to you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. And, it's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats. Eventually.